Hello, podcast listeners. This is your host with the most, JJ, and today's episode of JJ Meets World. It's now World, the JJ Meets World podcast features our friend Madison. We're going to cover a lot of ground today. So if you like whales, if you enjoy Christmas, if you really want a nice trip back to 1999 and the oomph that was Phantom Menace, you're in for a treat. Sit back and relax. Enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Welcome to JJ Meets World, and I'm JJ. With me, as always, is Tucker. Hello, Tucker.
Hi.
And Madison, you're also our guest for today.
I am.
And I want to start with this. So we're recording this at the end of 2021. Okay, so the year's almost done, only a couple weeks left. And my inbox has been flooded with a lot of these, like, hey, this is the best of this. So Spotify did it for me. And guess what Madison's number one podcast of 2021 was, Tucker?
Was it JJ Meets World?
It was.
Nice.
It was. And how do you remember how many minutes?
No,
Pull it up now, because
I forgot
he
how
listened
many.
to an insane number of minutes of this show.
What was it?
So these are things that I love when they kind of like do a year-end roundup. Reddit did the same thing, and I read through an entire, there must have been 700, 800 posts under an AMA that I had never even heard of that blew my friggin' mind. It was about a guy who's a lobster diver. Oh, before we get, do you know much?
A total of 86 episodes and total of 5,170 minutes.
Yeah.
No, but like, if we go back, I only found out about JJ Meets World.
Halfway
When
through the
was
year?
it? Yeah, it wasn't like a full year.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I can't wait to see what 2022 brings you.
good
Right.
fortune.
Hey, thanks for
also-
listening on Spotify.
Yeah, I know, right?
There are almost at least 200 more episodes you haven't listened to.
I know,
yet.
right? It's like John Mayer, the Eagles, and JJ and Tucker. So
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're really making some space on there. Okay, so this guy who's a lobster diver. Most people now in the modern lobster industry put lobster like boxes.
Hold
in
on,
the
I
sea.
need context again. This is a podcast?
No, this is a Reddit AMA.
oh, okay.
Okay. So AMA, for those of you who don't know, is Ask Me Anything. So
And the guy who was being asked questions was a
lobster diver.
Got it.
Yeah. But it's not about lobster diving.
Okay.
It's a situation that existed beyond it.
Okay.
So this guy's a lobster diver, but there's not a lot of lobster divers left. Most people see it as an inefficient way. They just put the boxes and then they trap the lobsters and then they bring them up. This guy actually dives down, sees a lobster on the floor, picks it up and is like, all right, you're coming with me to Red Lobster, son. So this guy is lobster diving, and then it's like called the difference between a closed circuit dive or an open circuit. And a closed circuit dive, I believe, is where like they're pumping air down to you, and an open circuit is where you're like with like a, essentially just a regulator, right?
Got it.
So this guy is lobster diving, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, he gets swallowed by a whale. Like gets swallowed by a humpback whale. And he is inside of this whale's mouth for 30 to 40 seconds. And he goes, I can immediately tell the whale doesn't want me in its mouth. Like I am a big enough foreign object that it doesn't want me. And they kind of describe it like having a popcorn kernel in your teeth, where this whale's tongue is trying to like essentially smash this guy against the teeth so that he can like dislodge him and spit him out.
Right.
So the whale burps this guy out. Not through the blowhole, which I thought would have been awesome, but that only happens in Popeye cartoons. So this guy gets spit up, and he suffers some, he gets pretty beat up when he's in there. Some soft tissue damage, a lot of bumps and bruises and stuff like that. And he had buddies on the boat who were watching where his bubbles would come up, and that's how they knew where to put the boat, right? So all of a sudden the bubbles all disappear, right? And then they see this whale and they're like, oh my God, Teddy got eaten by a whale. And it's not very common to see, like he said, I've only seen a whale less than a handful of times when I've been doing this lobster diving. So I am fully invested in this AMA, right? And this happened in like July. So it's not even like one I'm watching happen in real time. I'm actually having to go and click on the like content. And there's a bunch of people, who are like, hey, what is your name? Pinocchio? And then a lot of Jonah and the Whale type stuff, which I'm like, come on, guys, you're just filling this with fluff. You don't need to, you needn't have bothered. So I tell Madison about this and I'm like, have you read this AMA? Because he's a whale fanatic. Dude loves whales so much so that he just got some fresh ink.
Yeah, he did.
In fact, like his arm is still shaved right now because he's got a new, what kind of a whale is that?
It's an orca.
An orca.
I thought he was checking his watch earlier, but he has no watch. He has an orca
I have
tattoo.
an orca.
He just is like, oh,
If I had an orca watch, though.
Every time you look at it, are you going, yep, still there?
Yeah.
Yep, I guess this is permanent.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere. Not going to swim away.
So, Madison, when you hear something like this about a dude who gets, is in the mouth of a whale for that long and then spit up, I mean, it's
45 seconds is a long time.
It is. And like he can't see anything. It's pitch black. He goes, you're still surrounded like in water. At one point, his regulator, like because he's being jostled so much, came out of his mouth. So he was worried he was going to like, suffocate.
I'm sure he was thinking, is this it?
Yeah, definitely.
And someone asked him, like, what are you thinking? He goes, I thought about my wife and kids.
Yeah.
I thought about my family back home. And so, but like, I mean, would that give you some thrills if you were inside a whale's mouth?
I don't know if it give me thrills, but if he did, like, I don't know if you said if he saw it coming or not, or he just all of a sudden I'm in a whale's
suddenly
mouth.
He's in a whale's mouth.
So like, if I'm thinking about a humpback whale, they're not a whale that would be like, oh my God, that thing's going to kill me. If I saw a shark coming up and the shark surprised me, I'm like, oh yeah, probably going to die. But then again, it's like, I wouldn't imagine being swallowed by a whale.
What kind of a whale was this?
A humpback whale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think of a humpback whale. I don't really think of aggressive, really. I think of, all those nature documentaries where they're like the sound of the humpback. They have amazing songs and stuff.
So the whale looked at him, was like, I'm going to eat that. And then couldn't? Or was it accidental somehow?
So they assumed that he was actually taken up with the whale feeding on other things.
Okay.
That the odds of the whale thinking that looks good, I'm going to eat him. Like this
Very
is already,
small percent.
yeah,
That's
it
what I
was
thought.
already, he was in the whale's way, more or less.
Yeah.
Right?
So like the humpbacks, they do something that they call like bubble feeding, bubble net feeding, where the one whale swims in a circle and blows bubbles out of its blowhole, and the bubbles come up and they trap like a fish because the fish don't know how to get out of the net. And then another whale comes up from the bottom and does their whole chomp thing. And so I imagine maybe something like that, but also it doesn't make sense if he's lobster fishing. Is he at the bottom or is he like swimming down?
So he probably would have been just diving at that point. So he
might
probably
have
wasn't
been
at the
maybe on
bottom.
his way up.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Because how do you not see that?
Right.
But I mean, think about it. If even in a clear lake, if you open your eyes, you're only seeing 5-6 feet in front of you.
That's
at
true. And
most?
he's got something on his eye, so he has no peripheral vision.
Right.
Probably.
And I would
He has to
imagine, where
turn
was
his
this again? Do
This
you
is in
remember?
the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, but like, off a coast or something?
Yeah. I
think in the Atlantic off the East Coast, it's not clear at all. It's pretty murky. You can't really see that far. So yeah, I could see, but 40 seconds is the thing that jumps out at me. Like, that's a long time. If you're counting it out right now, like
How many?
Plus to be out of in the mouth of a humpback whale.
How many times have you watched Star Trek 4?
I would say probably once.
That's it?
Yeah.
it's the best. First of all, it's the best Star Trek movie
It's also
in my
Okay.
opinion.
It's also the best whale movie of all time. It's better than Free Willy.
Oh, have you
easy.
seen the movie Orca though?
Oh my God! Don't get me started.
Okay, let me give
dude.
you a quick little pitch on the movie Orca.
It's way better than Moby Dick.
Orca comes out after Jaws, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, "We need an ocean-based horror movie."
We need another one.
So in Orca, Peter. It's not Peter O'Toole. It's the famous Peter, if I'm not mistaken.
Famous Peter.
He harpoons a whale and kills a whale out in the ocean with his other fishing buddies, and they're
Right.
like, "We can't tell anyone about this."
Richard
'cause
Harris.
Richard Harris,
The
who
orcas are
later goes on to play Dumbledore.
They seek revenge.
Yeah, well, his wife does. Like the female orca, like there's a shot of like the orca's eye.
I think it's the other way around. The
sees him.
female and then the male.
Oh, is the male?
I
who
think
comes
that's
after?
how it goes.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
So one of the whales in the whale couple sees him and
Hey,
then
Siri,
imprints on him.
What's the plot to Orca?
Yeah, read
Here's
us.
what I found from Wikipedia. ORG Orca focuses on themes of love, relationships, and intimacy, and portrays how isolation can affect relationships. The film derives its title from the scientific name of killer whales.
Nope, this is the wrong movie.
Like,
This is like a documentary.
That
It
might be
sounds
a
like.
documentary.
Okay.
This is what's the
Here we
plot
go.
to Orca?
I've got the Wikipedia page. Orca, 1977. Produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who would later go on to make such hits as The Silence of the Lambs. Okay, so here's the plot.
it
And
says
David Lynch's
ecological
Dune.
overtones. Give me a break.
Captain Nolan is an Irish Canadian, as we know so many of them, living in South Harbour, Nova Scotia, who catches marine animals in order to pay off the mortgage on his boat and eventually return to Ireland. Nolan's crew is currently looking for a great white shark for a local aquarium, but marine biologist named Ken is targeted by the shark. An orca intervenes and kills the shark, saving Ken's life. This switches Nolan's target to the orca. Later, while hunting with his crew, Nolan tries to capture what he believes to be a male orca, but mistakenly harpoons a pregnant female. You're correct.
yeah.
Nolan and his crew get the orca on board, where she subsequently miscarries. Ooh, that took a turn. The captain hoses the dead fetus overboard as her male mate looks on, screaming in
Damn.
anguish.
Oh my
Seeking
God.
release for his near-dead mate, the male orca tries to sink the ship. One of Nolan's crew members, Novak, cuts the female off the ship, but the male leaps up and drags him to sea. The following day, the orca pushes the now-dead mate all the way to the shore. Al Swain, representative of the local fishermen's union, berates Nolan for his actions after finding the dead whale. Nolan denies responsibility, but Swain and the villagers eventually found out his involvement. The villagers insist that he kill the orca, as the whale's presence is causing the fish that are vital to the village's economy to migrate. The orca terrorizes the villages by sinking fishing boats in broad daylight and breaking pipelines, thus destroying the village's fuel reserves.
Wow,
Yeah.
breaking
And I mean,
pipelines.
there's 7 more paragraphs to this.
So like, I remember a certain part of the movies where Richard's his house is like on the
stilts, right?
Stilts on site, and so this orca somehow undoes the stilts, and there goes his house into the ocean. And so I would say about this, like, obviously they wanted another hit with Jaws, didn't really work. But
They play off the fact that orcas remember. That this orca,
which is true,
like imprints and now remembers this guy.
Yeah.
I think we assume that too many animals imprint,
Right,
because like
right.
they say that elephants do the same thing.
Yeah.
Are we positive
Yeah,
about this?
I mean, you can't really know for sure, but the one thing about
it's
this,
Roy. Look, there's Roy.
Yeah, right. The one thing this movie did was like somewhat scare people, like it did with
By
Jaws.
how many Irish are living in
With-
Canada?
Yeah. So, so like these whales, I mean, they didn't get the benefit of the doubt like sharks do. So, then you saw in the 80s and 90s a huge increase of, SeaWorld coming into, their power and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Star Trek
so
4,
people
Free
kind
Willy.
of, like people, they say, fear what they don't understand. They didn't understand the whales and stuff, so they were scared of them, and it really led to the booming business of SeaWorld and those kind of places.
I would love a twist follow-up Star Trek to Star Trek 4, where it turns out when they brought the whales to the future to talk to the machine, they were like, hey, you guys should get like 5 more of you and come back and just nuke this fucking place.
Be like-
And it turns out whales are actually huge assholes, and the reason we were hunting them to extinction was
Right,
because
yeah.
they were actually the apex predators, but we had been able to corral them to the oceans. And then it was like, all right, now that they're in the oceans and they can't walk on land anymore, systematically hunt them down for their blubber and their food. And then what happened was that Kirk and them actually fucked all that up.
So I think part of the thing that I don't understand about Star Trek 4 is it supposes that we continue to hunt whales well into the 21st century,
Right.
and that's why they go extinct.
Right.
But even by the time that movie came out, we had been like, hey guys, no more of this whale hunting. Like, you weren't seeing people being like, "There she blows," and like,
Was
no one was using
485?
blubber lamps
Right, yeah.
anymore.
Was 45? Was 485? 1985.
Yeah, somewhere around there, 85, 86.
But that's where the Save the Whales thing was going. then.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
So I mean, there was still, I'm guessing, mass harpooning and hunting of whales. At that
I don't
point.
think that there was probably mass harpooning, and there probably was some capture at that point, right? Because of places like SeaWorld. So like you had like the nefarious, like I'm thinking like a Russian zoo probably is, finding someone to go out there. But certainly not what it was like back in the day when we were turning them into perfume and stuff like that.
I would argue
Hey
that
Siri,
Tucker was
were
correct.
we murdering whales in 1985 en masse? She didn't listen that time.
I don't know
She's
about
not-
we, but like around the world, even currently, there are, mass killings of whales, porpoises, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, maybe mass is not the word to use, but I think Tucker's right, though.
So whaling is the process of hunting of whales for their usable products such as meat and blubber. I mean, when was the last time you used something that was blubber related?
Right. I don't know if I have.
The depletion of some whale species to their near extinction led to the banning of whaling in many countries by 1969 and a worldwide cessation of whaling as an industry in the late 1980s.
Late 1980s.
Yep.
This film came out in 1986.
Okay, so at the tail
Maybe
end,
this was the thing that put the nail in the fucking coffin.
it could have been.
And
I'm
it was
not going to deny that.
Like all of our legislators went and watched Star Trek 4 and they're like, we got to stop
They're
this.
Yeah,
like,
let's put an
oh
end to
my
this."
God.
It-
What if this is true? I mean, they nailed it with the microwave in the old series, and that's a thing now. What if Gene Roddenberry actually knows about some crazy alien that's going to come to our planet?
I think if anything, Star Trek reinforces the age-old notion that if you want new technology delivered from the future, hunt a species to extinction. Because then future space people come here and give you things like transparent
Yeah.
aluminum.
Computer. Hello, computer. I think that's, to me, that is the funniest of all the Star Trek movies.
Oh, yeah.
From like the original cast on through the next generation.
We have whales aboard.
It's so good. And they, please take us to your nuclear vessels.
Right, this is the middle of the Cold War still.
I don't think we've hit on probably the greatest piece of like whale fiction. So we talked about Orca, we talked about Free Willy, Star Trek 4, The
Right.
Voyage Home. In the episode of The Simpsons where they have the X-Files crossover is one of my favorite pieces of whale comedy ever, where Mulder and Scully identify themselves as part of the FBI to Moe at Moe's bar. And he goes, "Oh, okay." And then he runs to the back room and he goes, "The jig is up." And they've got a whale that they're just hosing down back there. And it's just in the back room and the whale goes, "Woo, woo." And then you see them later on, like he's trying to move it through a forest. He's got like 5 guys holding it. And you just see this whale.
Wasn't he saying he could deep fry a whale? Isn't that what he had?
No, that's when he opens Uncle Moe's, like it turns it into like an Applebee's style place, and he goes, it can flash fry a whale in 30 seconds.
Jig is up.
But like I think like the idea was that he was like somehow in the black market for moving live whales. So whether he was like selling them to somewhere, I don't know what the deal
I've
is.
been on actually a big Mo kick of Simpsons clips lately.
Oh, yeah?
Because I'm doing all this research for Mr. Burns. And so lately it's been like clips about Mo have been what the internet algorithms have been sending me constantly. And this murdered me the other day, this clip where Mo is talking about how he used to be a member of the Little Rascals.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he goes, it was a-
Bart Homer goes, "Oh, were you the ugly one?" And Mo just cold stares at him, and then Homer repeats it because it doesn't land for him, and he goes, No, I was the dirty one, smelly." And
He
his
goes,
Little
I
Rascals name
had
was
a great,
Smelly.
yeah, I had a great bit where I'd lose a marble and it would go down a pipe. And then he'd go over and then the car would start and he'd look in the exhaust pipe and they would blow exhaust in his face. And then then they cut back to an episode of it where Alfalfa does it, and then little Mo kills Alfalfa. And he goes, but it turned out to be okay because he was an orphan owned by the studio.
Jesus.
Simpsons they just really wrote that show to be amazing.
That's one thing I wish I could do a deep dive on is that because I know episodes here and there, but I really don't know the
Oh, you
the
should.
depth and
This
of
episode
the show
Came
'Cause I
from
know
when
it's
they filmed a Radioactive Man movie in Springfield, and they were all talking about their Hollywood experiences. And Mo's like, "Oh yeah, I used to be a part of this." And at the end, Mickey Rooney gives this great speech because they keep coming up with new taxes to like force onto the movie. And he goes, "Look at you." You and your small town slick ways, forcing the Hollywood company to run out of money. Shame on you for taking advantage of a big corporation like that. And it was just swell.
Just talking about Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney is the Mickey Rooney that played one of the best Marvel villains in Iron Man 2, right? Is that who I'm thinking of?
Nope. You're thinking of
No.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rooney.
Rooney was a little rascal, wasn't he?
He wasn't a little rascal, but he was a young child. Like he was a
Child
child
actor.
star who
Child
moved on,
star.
and then like was kind of famous for being like this total wreck for a while, and like. Dana Carvey does a great impression where he was like, "Bam, 1938, I was the biggest star in the world."
Oh yeah, now I know who he is. Yeah,
And then he would later go on to do some like good stuff, like
no,
he
he
was
was
in the
Night of the Museum. Yeah, he was one of
That's
the
right.
old dudes. That's right.
His last film role is he cameoed in the 2011 Muppets, The Muppets, in just like a quick little cameo role.
I totally would have cast him as Spanky. I just would have assumed that he used to
Right.
play Spanky.
Just no matter what.
He
yeah.
looks like a Spanky, doesn't he? Kind of like a typecast one as a kid.
I mean, I don't like to see Spankies in the world. I like to keep my mind open. Maybe it's going to be a thin kid.
Are you more of an alfalfa?
You're assuming that Spanky is slightly portly.
if we, oh my God, if we were in the Little Rascals right now, who would we be cast as? But the Little Rascals, they've grown up, you know.
Right.
I mean, you, I think, would be Froggy. Froggy, the one who had the real deep voice. Like,
Why?
just because I think you look like you'd be Froggy, like an adult version of Froggy. I think we can all agree that
You would be the pit bull, yeah.
Right.
You'd
Yeah,
be the dog.
I'd be Bullseye is his name
Yeah.
because he's got a bullseye on his eye.
that's
I think Target ended up getting sued by like whoever held the rights to the Little Rascals.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And you would be the He-Man woman hater sign.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I just bought that on VHS, the Little Rascals film from the 90s. Maybe
Yeah.
one of the best adaptations of an old property.
There was a while in the 90s where they were trying to bring back these things that were beloved by a previous generation to be like, hey, your kids can now experience it. So like the idea with Little Rascals is that like, hey, you have kids now, but they didn't really hit it right because that was more of like our grandparents' generation, right?
Think about it. No, if they were to try to make that movie now, it would be filled with like 20 times the pop culture references.
Oh, yeah.
It would be all these like video game jokes and stuff. These were still kids who were just playing outside. And I think the one pop culture reference I can even think of is the cameo by Whoopi Goldberg. When it says,
no.
hey, your mom came here, and he goes, Whoopi. And then it cuts to Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg.
I mean,
was there another one?
Oh, there's a lot because Reba McEntire is in it and she plays a race car driver.
So it's the cameos.
So,
It's like, I guess it's the
Donald
cameos.
Trump is in it. And in
He
fact,
is?
Donald
remember that.
Trump. Waldo is a super rich kid, and he calls him. He's like, "Hey, Dad, thanks for the car." He's like, "I love you, Waldo."
Oh
You're the
my
best."
Oh my God.
Now-
I totally forgot about that.
If you watch the bloopers, you can see that this guy's always been a dick. Because there's like an extra
No
next to him,
shit.
and he takes some like popcorn out of like the extras like little bag, you know, like because it's at like a race,
right.
and he puts his mouth and then he spits out. He goes horrible, horrible. This is popcorn's horrible.
That's right.
And they're like, it's a prop. Oh god, it's horrible.
oh, I totally forgot he was in that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he was probably on the set of Home Alone 2, Lost New York, and someone's like, "Hey, you want to cameo
Want a
in this
double
thing too?"
I need to funnel some money through this production.
But like, they made a Leave It to Beaver movie that came out.
Dennis the Menace was pretty good.
Dennis the Menace. I like Dennis the Menace. In fact, I still feel like that movie holds up to this day.
I love they had to create the mouth to film from the inside of Mr. Wilson's throats when he's slingshotting the fucking built out his throat.
Yeah, it's so good. And and Walter Matthau was the perfect Mr. Wilson, right? Like curmudgeonly,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
When he has his change at the end, when he suddenly is worried after Dennis goes missing, I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster we go on. Now, Madison wasn't even alive when this movie came out. In fact, Madison wouldn't be around for like another 9 years.
What year were you born?
98.
Okay. So, you know what? I just realized that the 90s are probably the decade were the best remakes were ever done because you've got the Flintstones. The first Flintstones is
John Goodman, right?
Yeah.
is pitch perfect.
Yeah.
When it
Brian
comes to
Levant
remakes.
did a great job with that.
Right. Obviously, we talked about Dennis the Menace. We talked about Little Rascals. I think those are on the money. There was a couple more that just played through my head, and I got to re-grab them again. But Casper, Richie Rich.
Yep.
Both were fantastic. Yeah. I guess that was sort of the era because they're not too hip yet, right?
Right.
Like the parents that they try to make kids movies for now are like hip parents.
Yeah,
but at that time it wasn't. So
like
those,
relating to the kids more, like
right.
Yeah,
so those remakes really kept the spirit of the initial property and just did whatever slight tweaks you needed to do to update it. But there still really wasn't the internet by and large yet. For most people, it wasn't ubiquitous.
Right.
It wasn't like a part
phones.
of movies. Like
There weren't cell phones.
There used to be a television show on Entertainment Television called Coming Attractions. And what they did was they set up and played movie trailers that were coming out before you could like watch them over and over on the internet. And I religiously watched that show. I also remember when I spent $15, no, probably like more like $11 at that time, to see Meet Joe Black because it had the Phantom Menace trailer before it. And that was enormous. That was huge because you couldn't just go online and watch it.
That was why their box office was so crazy good for Meet Joe Black was because people wanted to see the Star Wars trailer.
Yeah.
That's Meet Joe Black is one of the most common tapes I see in my VHS dives. Because now
it's a double tape, isn't it?
It's a double tape. I actually have some fond memories of Meet Joe Black. I actually like that movie. It's a guilty pleasure for me. But almost every Tuesday now is when I go and I make my rounds at like all the thrift shops and stuff.
Why Tuesday?
Because this is just from asking or seeing what people on the internet were saying. But the consensus is that if you're someone who's routinely going to thrift shops and you want to make sure you're there when everything has been refreshed, Tuesday's probably your best day because by and large, most donations come in over the weekend. And then on Mondays is typically when they're sorting and stocking. So by the end of Monday or Tuesday, that's when you're more than likely going to have fresh stuff. Now, that's going to change from thrift shop to thrift shop.
Right.
But by and large, I think the logic works out. And so, yeah, almost every Tuesday, I make a journey to a few of the thrift shops in town that I know stock VHS. And yeah, it's every time it's fully refreshed. And to the point now that I'm seeing the things that were really popular in VHS at a time, like Meet Joe Black is one of them.
What was the Phantom Menace trailer like? Here's C-SPAN. They just played C-SPAN, I'm guessing, right?
So here's what was brilliant about the Phantom Menace trailer. So
I don't know if I've even seen it, to be honest.
In 1997, they did something brilliant, is they did the re-releases, right? And so it was like February, March, April, where each month they released
of the special edition.
A special edition, like the New Hope. And this is when they had gone through and redone some of the like graphics.
Like, look at all these X-Wings.
Because Lucas had just repurchased or was about to repurchase.
From 20th Century Fox.
Right.
Yeah. So he re-releases these and adds the little extra footage. And they become like the third highest grossing movie every month for like 3 months, right? So they're making huge money, which says we got to make this new movie. And so because he had just done this green screen, blue screen work, he's like, now I can really actually do what I've dreamt of. So I remember the trailer goes, it's the Lucasfilm logo, and then it fades out, and it's that marsh, like the foggy marsh where you can see the Gungans kind of coming towards you. So first of all, you're hit with this scene of something where these are all CG creatures coming towards you, and that you can't really see because they're in the fog. That was unheard of at that time.
Right. And then the two big moments that I remember were the name drop of Obi-Wan.
Yep.
So he says Anakin meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. So the two of them get name dropped at the same time. And then you see Darth Maul with the dual lightsaber blade. And so at that point, I remember you could only see it for a second. You couldn't really replay this easily. So at first, I always thought Darth Maul was someone wearing something like akin to a kabuki mask or whatever.
Oh, sure.
And he looked really ancient. And to see a creature with two lightsaber blades, it was blowing. No one even knew that was coming.
Lost your mind.
We lost our flipping minds.
And it's not like, oh, roll that back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh.
And at that point,
your best bet would have to be sit there and hope you don't get kicked out of the movie theater so you can watch it again on the big screen.
So Phantom Menace was what, 98, 99?
It came out
Summer of 99?
I think it was spring of 99.
Okay, spring of 99. So there hadn't been a new Star Wars movie for
Right.
15 years.
Since
84?
84?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, just the buildup was massive. And then at least a solid month of all of us going to it, telling ourselves we like this movie. I'm going to go to it again. Tell myself I like this movie. I actually saw Phantom Menace in the theater almost 10 times.
Oh my.
I kept going back, and I also remember
Every time you're like, I like it.
I
like it
ate a
more?
lot of Taco Bell too, because Taco Bell was running a Phantom Menace promotion.
Actually, it was Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC, because if you hit up all three of them, each one had a chunk of a poster, and so you could collect it. I had
Jeez.
so at that point I had moved my bedroom out of an actual bedroom in our basement and made it like we had a den the downstairs, and so I took over the whole den as my like big basement. And I had a 12-pack of Diet Pepsi that had all of the characters on. So I had collected all of the character cans because I hadn't drank any of the Diet Pepsi, just collected the character cans, because you have never seen something like the marketing that took place when Phantom Menace came out. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. You could not turn around without seeing product placement for something somewhere. It was in your face nonstop. Nonstop.
One of my favorite memories of the Phantom Menace was, I think the first time I saw it was with my class, because I remember our class, we got out of school, and it was like a school outing.
Like a hey,
Really?
congratulations,
I think
kids,
it was
you read a
end
lot
of spring,
books.
beginning of summer almost. Like school was almost ending when it was
I'd say
coming
like
out.
what teacher would let you like, guys, we're going to this movie.
It was
educational.
I think
Politics.
we were close to graduation. Graduation was coming up. And so we as a class, we all like walked from like Ben Franklin to whichever movie theater we went to.
No, I'm
something.
telling you out. There's no way they bust you in.
We bust summer, but then we were walking after that. I'm trying to remember why we were walking. Here's why it's part of the memory, though. Was there was this girl I went to school with named Allie Silver. She was the resident goth chick in my class.
Nice.
And she was gorgeous. She was tall skinned, looked like a supermodel, right? And I really liked Allie Silver. Well, we all go and watch Phantom Menace, and then we're all walking somewhere afterwards. So wherever they bust us to, I guess we were walking there afterwards. And she loved the movie and was like, I need to talk to the nerdiest guy I know to ask more questions about Star Wars. So she comes and she finds me. And so on this entire walk back to wherever we were going, I felt like it was an hour. I basically got to just talk Star Wars to this hot goth chick.
When things happen your way.
Who was eating it up, right? She was she was super interested in all the Star Wars stuff. And then I remember it must have been a week later, we were all signing yearbooks and stuff. And she signed the back of my yearbook, Tucker, you are my Star Wars source.
Whoa!
Oh, Star Wars sword.
Look at you.
Time goes.
I thought I was big shit.
Time slows down when things are happening.
Yeah, never closed the deal on it, but at the very least,
yeah.
I gotta be, I got some positive
She's
attention.
still goth, like maybe.
I don't know if she's still goth or not, but I have no
She's
idea.
probably way into the Mandalorian now. Way into it.
That's fine as long as it's the Mandalorian and not the sequels.
Yeah, but you never
As
know.
long as it's not the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
I'm
She's
down.
like, I love Adam Driver.
Yeah,
By the
be okay.
way-
I like Adam Driver.
By the way, so that's 99 when Phantom Menace comes out. I held on to those cans until 2002 because I used them to prop up this foot chest I had. So that I could use as a bedside table. So when I was moving out of my house, I pulled the foot chest up and I'm like, oh yeah, all of my Phantom Menace Diet Pepsi cans are underneath here. And so I cracked one open and I took a sip. It tasted horrible. Yeah. It's how I imagine.
Which one did you pick?
Padme.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And here's the thing.
You should have gone with Sebulba.
Well, so I don't think they put him on the can. I think they were like,
He made the can?
No, I don't think he did.
Oh.
I think that they were like, we're not going to put him on there. I also don't think Watto wasn't on a can either.
Both Watto and Sebulba were on the Taco Bell, or the actual fountain soda.
Maybe.
cups.
Oh.
They were on those.
I was gonna say maybe the least delicious characters if you're marketing for some
Right.
sort of food.
Well, I mean,
Like,
yeah, for sure. But also, I mean, the whole premise was, well, remember how Star Wars sold all that merch way back
Yeah.
then? Let's just make new merch, and it did. It sold like crazy,
crazy.
But there's none of those characters really caught on. Like no one's
Right.
like, oh, definitely Watto's my favorite Star Wars character.
Watto took. I mean, there's a huge there was an outcry because they were saying, well, you're representing the Jewish culture with this character. And so I remember people being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be all about this. Like, this guy who wants to own slaves. And
Republic credits are no good.
I mean, things still hang around, though. I know a TikTok guy who that's all he does is Watto in different situations. You know what I mean?
You're kidding me.
No, yeah. I need to find.
So it's like, what does Watto do when DoorDash gets it wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
At what point do you think we as a species crossed peak absurdity? I mean, it already happened years ago. I'm just trying to remember when the moment was. Because the notion that like, so what do you do for a living? Well, I impersonate Watto on TikTok, and my Patreon account is large enough because of the following.
Be like, does it pay well? Like, yeah,
actually,
it really does.
Probably really well. Probably super well. He's probably making more money doing that than the guy who played the voice of Watto.
It'd be like, and how are things for you? Well, I'm a teacher, and I have to get a third job to be able to afford my health insurance.
Do you think in the directing chair, Lucas was like, "Can you do that, but more Jewy? Can you do it more like this guy over here?"
Here's the thing. I think part of the problem is that it's one person pointed something out, right? And then I think the media kind of fell into the like we're like, oh yeah, he does have that long trunk-like nose, and he is, supposed to be money grabbing, and so people started just like poking holes. I don't think that there's ever intentionality behind it, but then again, you never know. George Lucas is a pretty messed up dude. Like I just finished listening to an audiobook about him that's told like as an oral history of his life. That dude is pretty messed up.
What's the messed up part? What are you saying? Like psychologically?
Yeah, like he's a guy who, first of all, he's an egomaniac, which is a huge, thing. But of course, why wouldn't you be when this? He like there were several times on the set of Star Wars where he like just broke down. And like had to like disappear, like ran away and like disappeared. Yeah. Okay. Because things weren't going like the way he wanted. He hates England. Like he tells people all the time apparently about how much he hates England because he thinks it's total crap that they get to break for tea. And that they have strict union rules that say like you need to be done like at 5 o'clock production shuts down, you're done.
I just watched the movies that made us. The same thing when Alien was shooting.
Yeah, Ridley Scott had a huge issue.
Yeah, right. One side is American, the other side's like, yeah, we're breaking for tea, and they're like, fuck you. You know what I mean? It's
like, no, we're in the middle of making something.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, cultures clash.
Well, it's sort of like, what do you expect? You're making the movie on their turf, right? Like that's part of the issue is if I go over to Scotland and they're like, you want a wee dram? And I'm like, oh, do you mean like a little cup? They're like, no, a wee dram. And I'm like, yeah, a little cup. You should call that a little cup because that's what we do in America.
Do you know if it's fair if we play this Watto audio? I don't even know if we can.
I mean, is he doing the impression of it or because he doesn't know the character. Right. Just throw it in there.
I said I had 3 Audible credits left. And what did you say?
3 credits, huh? You can't do anything with 3 credits. Come on.
and
he does a pretty good job with his Watto.
3 credits,
let me ask you a question, Madison.
Yeah.
The holidays right around the corner. Do you have a favorite piece of like holiday
content?
Yeah. Whether it's like a story, a song, anything that kind of says to you like, yep, this is what I like the most.
Every year for the past probably like 5 years.
Okay.
I'll be scrolling Facebook. It'll be December. Okay. And this ad comes up. I think it's a foreign ad. And this ad comes up and it's this father and son, and this father is playing, Come Get Your Love. Come and Get Your Love, Come and Get Your Love, come and get your love, come and get your love. You know what I mean? And his son, he's dancing really goofy to it. And his son is like a little kid and he starts dancing with his dad. And then, cuts to years later and, the son's a little older. He's a teenager now. And the song comes on the radio and dad turns it up and he starts dancing. And the teenager's like, Dad, oh my God. And then it's like, Dad's gone now.
Oh.
And the son
This is a Christmas commercial?
The dad's gone now. Now the son hears Come and Get Your Love, and he's doing the same dance with his son. It always gets me. It always finds my Facebook timeline every year in December, and it's I love that. I share it every single time I see it.
And what's an ad for?
I have no idea. I don't know if maybe it's not an ad. It might just be like a Christmas. I shared it already this year.
Okay, so for me, I also have some commercials that I think of. I mean, what's great about the holiday season is it's a season where you create content specifically for it, right? So everything from the Hallmark and Lifetime movies to Christmas carols that we've sung forever. In fact, Madison and I just finished a big project where we did a deep dive into the history of Christmas carols. By the way, Jingle Bells, really dark.
Really?
Like, I'm surprised that they haven't canceled it. It was like originally written by a guy who left the North to fight for the Confederacy because he believed in slavery.
Really?
And then wrote this as a minstrel show.
What?
Yeah, and so the full lyrics to all of Jingle Bells like are really just horrible. And we've whittled it down to only like the parts that are holly and jolly.
Holy shit.
But okay, so 3 commercials that I love during the holidays. One that actually still plays. The one that still plays, they've actually redone with current CGI, but it's the "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" with the Hershey's Kisses as bells, where ding 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 ding. I love that, and then the little tiny bell at the end, ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
The second one is the Flintstones Fruity Pebbles. And it's Fred, and he's getting ready, and he's putting out a bowl of Fruity Pebbles for Santa. And then Barney's up on the roof, and he goes, "Ho, ho, ho, I'm hungry." And he comes down the chimney, but Santa's already come down the chimney, and he goes, "Santa, my pebbles, your pebbles. 'Tis the season to be sharing, Fred." And then he hands him a bowl, and he goes, "Oh, Fred." And it's Happy Holidays from Fruity Pebbles to your family. The last one, though, is so good.
Can I guess it? I'm going to guess it.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess too. You go first.
No, Madison, you go first because I bet he's going to nail it. You're not because you're too young.
Okay. It's the Coca-Cola bear.
The Coca-Cola
Commercial.
bear, like the CGI, like bears. Okay.
Yes.
What do you think, Tucker?
Honey Nut Cheerios Scrooge.
That is exactly what it is. Merry Christmas, Uncle. Did you say honey and nuts? My customary
my
groove will
God.
suffice.
I'll have to look that one
It's the
up.
shortest telling of a Christmas carol you're ever going to see, where all 3 ghosts are just a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios. And they played that ad must have been made like in 85, 86, and they played it well into the 2000s.
Yeah, that actor is way beyond dead at this point. No question. He's gone.
And
Yeah,
it's,
That actor's definitely gone.
He's gone.
and so his
Where did he
whole
go?
his whole life is turned around. Now, I will say coming in a close fourth is the Coca-Cola Santa packs are coming commercials.
Oh yeah,
Santa packs are coming. Santa
you were
packs are
talking
coming.
about-
Always the real thing. Santa packs are coming. Santa packs are coming. By the way, if anyone from the Coca-Cola Corporation is listening, first of all, I love Diet Coke. I will
We have
be
it with us right
yeah,
now.
I will be a loyal follower. But you have billboards. It's currently the frozen tundra up here in North Dakota, and you have billboards lining north of Fargo that say, "Summer always tastes better with an ice cold Coca-Cola." It's time to take down those billboards. It was time in like probably September. So
What about those bad Christmas or like holiday commercials? I always think those like new car commercials where it's like, "Hey,
it's a December to remember."
hey, it's December to remember. I got you a wreath, and I got you a new car."
Yeah,
And it's
nothing.
like, oh, really?
There's always a giant bow on the car, too.
$70,000 on a car. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Or like the one where it's like there's one out right now. I don't know which one it is, but it's like borderline sexist. Like the girl's like, "Hey, honey, I got you a brand new truck," and he's like, "Oh, thanks, babe. I got you a puppy." And it's like, oh,
I want the puppy.
Did you see?
the puppy's running through the snow.
Actually,
It's all
You
cute.
notice that that's a gift. Both are gifts for both of them.
Right, right,
Yeah.
Right? They're both going to drive the truck. They're both going to play with the goddamn puppy.
Did you see last year? Actually, Saturday Night Live did a wonderful job lampooning that idea of getting someone a car for like the holidays.
No.
It's Beck Bennett, and he's the dad. He's got this crappy mustache and glasses on, and everyone opens their presents, and they're like, "What a great Christmas!" He's like, "Oh, I think there's one more present for Mom," and she goes, "What?" And he goes, well, let's go check outside. And so they all run outside, and he goes, Merry Christmas. It's a December to remember at our local Lexus dealer. And she goes, you bought a car? And he goes, Merry Christmas, baby. And she's like, why? This is something a couple talks about. This is a major investment. And he goes, what? And she's like, how did you afford this? You've been out of work. And the kids go like, Dad, you've been out of work. He was in COVID. She's like, you got fired in May of last year, Donald. And he's like, don't worry, baby. It's only 2% APR. And she goes, do you mean APR? And so then the neighbor comes over and he goes, what the hell, Don? You came to me and you're crying and saying, oh, I don't have any money to buy my family gifts. I think my wife is cheating on me. Oh. And he's like, I want that money back tomorrow. And she's like, get in the car. We're taking this back right now. He goes, maybe we can stop by like Trent. That's their son. Like Trenton's girlfriend's house. Show him this cool new car your dad bought. It is perfect.
Oh my God.
You know, Saturday Night Live really crushes it when it comes to holiday
holidays,
content.
don't they?
Yeah,
They do.
they really. In fact, I just watched. Have you ever seen the sketch Hanukkah Harry? This is way before your time. So, Santa Claus, played by Phil Hartman, is too sick. He's got the flu on Christmas. And so there's only one other man who could travel at the speed of light and deliver gifts. And it's Hanukkah Harry, played by John Lovitz. And it's like on Herschel, on Moisha, on Shlomo. Let's go around the world. And it is just so good. And he's like delivering these presents and he doesn't understand like the Christian idea of like what gifts are.
Yeah.
So it's Victoria Jackson and Mike Myers as the little kids who find Hanukkah Harry. And he's like, like Caitlin, Santa said you've been a very good girl. So here you go. And she goes like, socks, 8 pair. Can you believe it? It's so good. Hanukkah Harry. You can watch it. Watch it. It's well worth your time. But they've always done a good job on Saturday Night Live when it comes to the holidays and lampooning those little things that we think about.
Do you have a guess what my favorite Christmas special of a TV show was? What moment? I think I've talked about it on the show before, but I can't remember if I have.
What moment from a TV show, live action or animated?
Live action. So live action TV series has a Christmas episode, and there's a moment in that episode, and it's my absolute favorite. I think about it every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was a little kid.
I'm assuming it's not It's a Wonderful Life parody that they did on Family Matters where Urkel wondered if he never existed. Let's see.
That was very specific.
Yeah. What was it? It was Full House. That wasn't a Christmas episode where they get trapped in the gas station. And Punky Brewster, that kid gets trapped in the freezer
In
because they don't
JJ's
take the
head,
handle
there's
off.
a CRT TV that's switching channels
Yeah.
right
Just
now.
like-
That's
Well, and also trying to pick the appropriate time, right? Something
Right.
that made such an impact on you that because like Punky Brewster, too soon, too early, right?
Right.
So, and it's live action because I was going to assume it was a Turtles episode, like a Christmas episode of the
It is
Turtles,
not.
because they were kind enough to animate like Santa hats on the Turtles.
Right.
Wow.
So you knew it was a Christmas episode.
Yeah, they gave those little Korean children animating the show like extra bread
They're
that
like,
week.
put this on them. I don't know. I don't know if I can even get close.
Sesame Street,
Oh,
and it was when Big Bird has been waiting up to see Santa, and
Yeah.
Big Bird falls asleep
Oh,
while waiting for Santa, and then there's a moment where you hear jingle bells, I believe, at first, and then you hear foot
Crunching.
in snow as Santa kind of walks by a sleeping Big Bird. And this was when I was still, I hadn't found out the truth about Santa yet at this point. And I am on the edge of my seat thinking he's right there. You've waited up all night and he's and I'm thinking too, are we going to see him? Are we going to get to see Santa? I want to see what Santa looks like, thinking it's real. Right. And so, yeah, that moment was so magical to me as a little kid. I always think about it.
Christmas Eve on Sesame Street I think turns 43 this year. I'm pretty sure it was 1978 when that special first came out. And they continued airing it over and over and over again because it was so timeless. It was so good. So one of my favorite things in the entire world is when you take a Muppet and you put like gloves and hats on them because they're like, it's the winter. So they do it like during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with the Sesame Street characters.
Yep.
But Bert and Ernie have like coats that they wear. and like little hats and earmuffs and stuff like that. And it's
They're humans, right? They're human puppets. If they were
Yeah.
animal puppets like Big Bird, he's covered in feathers. So really
Right.
what he needs earmuffs, he needs gloves, he
Maybe
needs
a
a scarf. That's it. He's not even going to need boots.
So let's talk about world building before that was even something people thought about. The best Christmas special, in my opinion, of all time is a Muppet Family Christmas.
Right. So if we're going to talk world building, we have to go back to like J.R.R. Tolkien. But if you're talking about
Right, yeah,
television,
yeah,
No,
you're right.
I'm talking about world building where like you're able to pull from like multiple properties
Got
and
it.
like mix them all together in one. So
Okay. Crossovers.
Right. If J.R. Tolkien had mastered a thing where like all of a sudden out of nowhere Charles Dickens
Right.
pops into
Got
the
it.
Hobbiton,
Okay,
that'd
gotcha.
be a whole other thing. So in this, and this is unheard of. Now we're so used to like, giant IPs mashing together and things like Space Jam, crappy Legacy. So in this, you get all the Muppet characters, and they're gonna go spend Christmas at Fozzie's mom's farmhouse at Grizzly Farm, and they're gonna surprise her. She is getting ready to go to Malibu to surf and lay on the beach for Christmas.
I was going to say, it
doesn't-
sounds like she doesn't want to be there.
yeah, she wasn't planning on. Like she's wearing sunglasses and she's got like like a summer hat on, like as she's leaving, and Doc and Sprocket from Fraggle Rock come to the door and they're renting her cottage for Christmas. And so she's like, "Well, go upstairs, you'll find your bedrooms," and then Fozzie and all of the Muppets show up. And what's funny is the way they write Ma Bear is really funny because you would think that she watches her son on television every week, but she clearly doesn't because he's like, "Ma, I want you to meet my best friend, my inspiration, the guy who gave me my big break, Kermit." She goes, "Oh yeah, the lizard," and she's like a frog actually. And so that the Fraggle Rock world is like involved at some point. All this stuff's going on. Then all of a sudden you hear caroling, and it's all the characters from Sesame Street are like coming down the path, and they're all caroling. They all get snowed in. They go see the Fraggles at one point because they find a Fraggle hole downstairs. It's just a phenomenal special, and it's got a 10-minute long like carol melody at the end that is without a doubt one of the sweetest points. And I just listened to a biography about Jim Henson, and they talk about how this is one of the moments that Jim's best friends feel like captured his spirit the best. So while there's this carol sing going on, Jim Henson, like there's a shot where he kind of leans in from the kitchen and and Sprocket the dog's there. He goes, "Well, Sprocket, looks like they're having a good time, huh?" He goes like, "Yeah, I like it when they have a good time. Let's go do these dishes."
Aw.
And like, "I'll wash you dry." And like,
That hurts me, and I haven't even seen it, man.
and just the idea that like Jim would like love all of these people playing in the sandbox together. I think it's one of the reasons I like Jim Henson. And I remember as a kid, so we never got TV Guide at my house, right? But I remember getting a TV Guide in December of like when I was a way little kid and reading through every page, trying to find out when the special was going to air because I had seen it once before. But this is back in an era where they didn't put it on VHS or anything
Right.
like that. And so I left my family celebration. They were all opening presents. And I was like, I got to go downstairs to the downstairs TV.
See ya.
And I watched Muppet Family Christmas.
Is it known what the relationship was like between Jim Henson and George Lucas?
Yeah.
I've actually never even heard
There's
of
a relationship? I
would
didn't even know that.
Well, I would assume there would be.
Yoda was from
yeah,
the Creature
that's
Shop.
right, that's right.
Yeah. So when he saw Star Wars, it blew Jim Henson's mind. And
Wasn't Jim Henson supposed to play Yoda at
he
one
was,
point?
he was.
That's
and
right,
At
okay.
that point, by the time Star Wars rolls around, it was in the 60s when Sesame Street was born. There's just too much going on for him to like go over and work on this. So he gave it to his most trusted, friend and collaborator, Frank Oz. And he knew immediately that he wanted to be a part of what George Lucas had going on when he saw those. And George Lucas loved like the chaotic idea. And so when it was decided that Yoda was going to be a non-human character, he immediately reached out and said, if the Creature Shop can't do it, we're not going to do it. And then Jim Henson helped a lot too, because he worked in England a lot. So his relationship and his knowledge of the British film and television industry helped George Lucas get through those things like breaking for tea and
time and
get, essentially being like, this is how you convince people to work beyond 5 o'clock if you have to, if you're on the last leg of a shoot or something like that. So it was very much so like two people who were pushing the bounds and the limits of what they could do with technology and feeding off of each other.
What do you think George does every day? Do you think he has like a routine? Like,
I imagine it's a very Scrooge McDuck. I'm going to swim in some money first. Although when you
I
think
just
about this,
like some of the, you ever think of a famous person? It's like they're going through the same day I am. Like, I wonder what they're doing. He's one that really
is he's having to sit in this Burger King line as long as I am.
Yeah, it's just like ridiculous.
It's like, I just want to get home and sit in my hot tub of unicorn blood.
Well, it's like some celebrities, it's like some want to be like individual and do their own things, but others, have an intern go grab me something. I wonder the ones who do the stuff by themselves.
I think when it comes down to being a billionaire, that's part of it too. I mean, if he's not a billionaire, he's a multi-millionaire.
No, I mean he's sold. I think his net worth is like $7 billion.
It's got to be. It's got to be. It has to be, especially after the sale to Disney, because I think he sold Star Wars for $4 billion,
and I think he owned almost sole rights to it.
Right. So I mean, I think it's really, what does a billionaire do? Who just, there's no question of, will I eat today or ever? Will my descendants 5 generations down eat today or ever? They always will.
Interesting anecdote. Previous guest on this podcast, Natalie Deutsch, met George Lucas while she was shopping at Water Tower Place in Chicago. And he was just sitting there holding a purse for his wife, standing outside the door, just, like waiting for her to get done with her shopping. And Natalie goes up and she was like, "Are you George Lucas? Can we take a picture with you?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, whatever." And he's just standing there.
No big deal.
Getting to stand there, no big deal.
Deals.
Whereas I would have been like, here's some story concepts for you.
Have you
let's
heard
start with this.
Yeah.
If I'm a billionaire and my partner's like, I'm going to go shopping, I'd be like, have fun. Like, hire someone to do that for you.
Literally.
Yeah. What are you complaining about? I gave you billions of dollars.
But I think the thing is like
yourself.
they're
Go
still,
shop for yourself.
But they're still human beings, right?
Right,
Like,
he's still like,
so like you still want someone
How
to
much
go out with
money
you
would
while
I
you run
need
errands.
to give
To
my
not be a
partner
human being
to not have
anymore.
to fucking go to IKEA?
Yeah, that's the thing.
How much do I
There's-
need to give them?
There's not enough money on the planet because it's not about money. It's about your attention and time.
Yeah, so let's do something that we both enjoy.
I'm just saying.
I'm arguing with 2 X's ago right now. I know you love walking through IKEA. I would rather go get a scope up my butt.
gouge my eyes out.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever do like a tit for tat? Like, if I'm going to walk through IKEA with you, you are going to go to this Yu-Gi-Oh show
No.
with me.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Is that something you're into?
No,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
that was part of the breakdown, was that I never felt like, well, for me to feel like we're doing something, I need you to go through hours of something you hate. Right? Like, if my partner didn't like a thing, I'm not going to make them go do it. I'm like, let's go do something we both enjoy. And the thing was, the quality time, in quotes, of us at IKEA was me being the one who was pushing the cart. Yeah. She wasn't talking to me. It wasn't like we were interacting or having a great old time. It was that you're nearby and you are my shopping assistant.
Yeah.
And I need this because I'm your girlfriend, and that's just how this fucking works.
And then you get 10 minutes into the Yu-Gi-Oh show, and she's like,
Yeah.
I think it's time to go.
And so I would always just be like, okay, but I'm gonna throw a hissy. Like, I'd be like, at what point do I make you do something like this? Tell me. And she'd be like, you don't. I'm like, exactly, right? Because I respect you as an adult.
I even just today have spent hours doing things that I didn't want to do because I know that that's what it takes for me to be in a relationship.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's part of it. Because
Really?
there's probably a lot of stuff that I just do in general. Like, for example.
Yeah, you're married, JJ. Like,
I am married.
Yeah, you had to do that.
Right. I did have to do that.
Yeah,
it's part of the deal.
Right.
The other day, I called Jill and I'm like, hey, in 10 minutes, I'm bringing a saxophonist and a guy you've met only a handful of times over to the house to film in front of our Christmas tree. So clean up the house, get the hell into the basement, and make sure the dogs are okay. And
anxiety up.
honestly,
she had no idea we were coming
Honestly,
over.
if you said that to me, I'd be like, no.
really.
That's fine. They're coming over, but I'm not doing any of those
Don't
things.
come home.
You want them over? Great. You do it. Like, that's what I would say in that instance. I'd be supportive, but I don't need to fucking kill my day.
What do you mean kill your day? It took 5 minutes for her to do that. It's called a partnership.
If it takes 5 minutes, why do you need her to do it?
Because I was already doing something else.
What was...
I was on my way there. I was already taping another piece of
my way there. Oh, okay.
I think that there are probably people listening to this, and there's two of them being like, "Yeah, Tucker's totally right," and then the rest of the world is like, "Dude, that guy."
No, it's
partnership. It's give and take.
Yo, I get you.
Did you play any team sports?
I get you.
did.
Give
I've
and
seen a
take.
lot of team sport movies,
But some giving is just too much giving. It's just not the right kind of giving. It just isn't. I'm sorry,
So,
it isn't.
Are you thinking that it's not giving anymore? It's me taking advantage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you and Jill, I can't judge, but in my instance with my ex, it was what is it about us going to IKEA that is for the both of us? Because we're there for 4 hours. I get a migraine. You don't talk to me. You know I hate it there. And we're with each other 24/7 as it is.
So is it more the act that you had to do that, or is it IKEA itself? Do you have a problem just with IKEA in
Ultimately,
general?
it was her going, I don't care that you hate this. I want this, and that's what it's going to be.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it was, right?
So like I know tonight, because I did a lot of stuff that I didn't want to today, I'm going to get a good leg scratch. Because that's what I love. I love when I get like a leg scratch.
If I had a thing I wanted to go do, and it was going to take 4 hours, and I would love to share that thing with my partner, that makes total sense. Then if my partner says, listen, I want to do stuff with you, but I really hate doing that thing, my response is going to be, oh, then I'm not going to make you do that thing. Not, what can I do to emotionally badger you into still doing it anyways?
Yeah.
Right? That's what it was. It wasn't that, oh, I had to go do something that was off-putting. I do that shit all the time when I'm in relationships. I get that. That happens. But this was a scenario where it was like, listen, I don't care that you hate this. I want it, and that's what it is. Why? I'm girlfriend. That's literally what it was. That shit can go fuck itself.
This is why you're Froggy from Little Rascals.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I want to do this at all.
I don't know if it's, I forget what fucking movie it is. It's, this guy is like picking up a woman to go on a date. And so they're walking out to his car, and he like clicks the button and he goes, hey, it's open. And he gets into the driver's seat, and she just stands there. And he rolls down the window and goes, hey, it's unlocked. And she goes, I don't date. I don't go on a date without the man opening the door for me. And he goes, oh, really? Like hurt? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, oh shoot. And he steps on the gas and just takes off. That's me. That's me right there. Yeah.
No, but like you're both human beings. It's a mutual respect thing, no matter like if you're in a relationship. You know what I mean?
I'm always, if I'm going to get in a relationship, I'm like, I want to figure out this person's language and what they do to show someone that they respect them. Not, I'm going to punish them if they don't play along by the script I have in my head, whatever I want them to do to show me respect. That's bullshit. And I'll just, you know what? If I have to die single, I'll die fucking single. But I'm not going to do that to my partner. I never have.
Right.
I don't fucking do that shit.
I would imagine seeing IKEA as a PTSD moment now for you, though.
It now the thing is I like their furniture.
No matter the meatballs or not.
Oh, fuck those meatballs. Swedish meatballs in general can fuck themselves.
What?
Yeah, I don't like Swedish meatballs.
They're good.
No, they're not.
I didn't
They come
really
with that
enjoy
good
the
gravy on
meatballs.
them?
No, that's the worst part. That's why I don't like them.
You don't like the gravy?
No.
We spent a whole day shopping there, and like the meatballs are like, oh, the meatballs and the gravy and stuff, and I'm like, it wasn't good.
Yeah, they have horse meat in them.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
No matter,
Wait,
but
what?
I'm like, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, there's a big deal. So horse meat is very
Sweden.
common in Europe. And so like they're like, yeah, there's horse meat in some of our meatballs. And we're like, oh my God, that's awful. That's disgusting. I can't believe it. But like recently I was told that there was a fly-by-night operation that was selling meat out of a truck in a parking lot, and that they were using horse. And they're like, you'll note that they never say like USDA prime beef. They're talking about the cuts. You can still get a ribeye from a horse.
Sure.
Yeah,
You know,
I would
so, yeah.
imagine.
Horse meat.
Now if the partner's like, hey, listen, my cousin's getting married, we're going. Like, yep, that makes sense. Yep, that's
Right.
that's an obligation
That's
of
one of
family.
those
That's all those
things,
things.
yeah.
That totally makes sense. Or even like, hey, I got to get some shopping done today. I know you don't like it, but would you be absolutely willing to help you? I totally get that. What I hated was, I don't care that you hate this. I love it. We're going to spend 4 hours today, and you're just going to suck it up to show me how much you love me.
Scenario.
Yeah,
That's the
true.
kind of
That's
shit
true.
that was going
That's
on.
just
Scenario,
like-
you've been dating someone for 4 months and you really like this person. You
Right.
can see a real future. The only problem is that this person's brother's a real dick. He just always is like, like Tucker, is that a real job? Like, oh, Tucker, was that the same sweater I saw you in last time? Tucker, like this guy's just a jerk, right?
Okay.
But this partner of yours loves their brother.
Sure.
Loves their brother.
Right.
Their brother ends up with like bone cancer and they need a marrow transplant. And this person you've only been seeing for a couple months is like
Very painful, I
Like
think.
I would like you to go in and get tested to see if you're a match.
No.
Not
You're
4
not gonna do it?
months.
Not
4
at,
months.
Not at 4 months.
How about the fact that it's just another human being on the planet? Like
Tucker, even with Tucker, I think 2 years is a stretch. You know
I
what
mean, part of it, I'm sure, would be if I'm in that scenario is, who is this person I'm with? How in love with them am I?
you think it's you're just floored. That's why you haven't
You're
really
floored.
made a big deal about the brother being such a dick.
Is it the
It's
goth?
you're like,
It's the goth chick, though,
it
right?
could be. It
It's the-
could be.
That's the problem, though. I mean, in
But
this
you'd have-
in this hypothetical, I would have already let the brother know he can go fuck himself.
Right.
Because I'm one
But that's the thing.
of those. Are we going to have a confrontation? Okay, I don't know if I'm going to
but-
win or lose, but there will be mutually assured
But
destruction.
you're not doing it for the brother, though. You're doing it for this person that you are smitten with right now.
Okay, I think the question you're asking is,
Uh-huh.
is it possible for me to love someone so much that I would give my bone marrow to their asshole brother?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that could happen. Do I think
Okay.
it's going to? No.
In a universe,
Hey,
yes, it's possible.
don't say it's not going to happen. I'm writing a Lifetime movie right now
Here's how this conversation goes.
called "I've Got a Bone to Pick with You."
be
is
my
what it's called.
Here's how this conversation. You be my girlfriend asking me to do this for your brother.
Tucker, I know that you and Pedro do not really get along, and some things were said the last time you guys were in a room together, but everyone in the family tested and were not matches. But the doctor said that when he just saw you in the waiting room to pick me up, he's like, that guy might be a match, just judging from his
the thickness of his
the
femur.
thickness of his femur and the pinkness of his skin. And so, would you go in and get tested? And if it's a match, would you please donate some marrow to my brother?
Here's the deal. If
Okay.
it's a match, I'll do it, but it's not going to be a donation.
Oh, okay.
The cost is I never have to go to IKEA with you ever. If that's on the table, then yes.
Okay. Well, they're fine. That's great. Let's
There you
go.
go. See?
All right.
Negotiation,
See?
leverage.
There you
We
go.
each got something out of
Uh-huh.
it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
There you go.
I like it.
People say I'm cold-hearted.
Now here's the other side of the coin. That's where the transplant's going to take place. Is it's an
Top of
old
the desk.
it's
On top
at
of
an old IKEA that they've turned into because all the hospitals are full with COVID patients. So IKEA's like, don't worry, we got plenty of beds.
And you have to wait. There's a significant waiting.
Yeah, and all you can eat in recovery are meatballs and lingonberry jam.
I mean, that sounds like that would be part of the deal anyways, because the operation hasn't taken place yet. Right. So I would still go with it, because that scenario, going to IKEA to get my bone marrow sucked from my body, sounds better than the 4 hours I would go there with my ex and push the fucking cart around.
Right, yeah. I think another thing with that is like, I know Emily and I, she doesn't really like going to movies. And so it's like every time I'm going to a movie, I always ask, but I usually know what the answer is. But like recently,
But I bet
JJ
she just likes to be asked.
right, that's the thing. It's like,
Sure.
you know, it's one thing to go and maybe not tell them, but it's another thing. And now, as of recently, like JJ and I are planning to go to the Spider-Man premiere. She's like, "Hey, can I come to this?" And it's like, and at that point, it's like she's trying to say, "Hey, I'm trying to get into one of the things," instead of being like, I'm saying to her, "Come with me." You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I know you don't enjoy this, so I think I definitely get your point, and I mean, I think everyone's been through that, like going to something that you don't want to, but
The last time I had what you could call an accident was while I was attempting to woo Jill. We went to Valley Fair.
What are you saying, like a car accident?
No, like a potty accident. And
This is connected to what we've just been talking about? Okay.
Because I
love
hate
that. Oh,
roller coasters.
oh no!
I hate roller coasters
I hate
too.
roller coasters. I hate the like, oh, let's go up and drop you down. I hate it. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
If me and a romantic rival were both at a theme park chasing after the same woman, and she's like, I'm gonna go on this roller coaster, she's coming with me, I'd be like, just fuck that guy. I just he wins. He
You're
wins.
like, I'll hold your wallets and cell phones.
I'd be like, I'm gonna go home. You guys could just do it. You
my
win.
God.
I don't want it. Don't want it anymore.
I decide.
Show me how much you love me.
Right.
Go fuck yourself.
So Jill and I are fresh into dating, like a month and a half into like,
so
not even
real
like
early.
official yet. Like,
So this
and
was
so-
22 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. And we go to Valley Fair. Summer's full of fun. And we went with a large group of people. Like my sister and some of her friends were there. And for some reason, my mom was there with some people.
You sure this wasn't a
and-
dream or something?
No, this is real.
Okay.
And like, because Jared Nils was with us, because we
Okay.
picked him up in the Twin Cities. This is the first time Jared got to meet Jill.
Gotcha.
And so we go, and we're in the line for Wild Thing, and Jared leans over and goes, you don't like roller coasters. And I was like, I know. Shut up. Be cool. And he goes, this one's really scary. And I was like, shut up. And so while we're on the roller coaster, it's going click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click, 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 click. I honestly like am shaking so hard that I'm like, I'm going to have to ask them to stop it. How do I yell stop?
Are you
stop,
serious?
stop?
Like,
Yeah,
you're
and then
like,
I will get
oh,
up and I'll
no.
crawl down the little staircase that they've got
with no railing.
with no rail. Like I'm
Basically.
like ready to like I mean I'm almost in tears.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, I'm just not gonna look. I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna look. And we go over the edge, and like I can feel my stomach go up, and then you're getting jostled around, and I'm getting whiplash in my neck.
There's no 360s though, so that was good for
Right,
you.
but then we went right over the corkscrew and did that, and so
Fuck all of
like
that.
we're doing all these thrill rides, and I'm like, all right, you're doing it, champ. Like, good for you, because I also heights and I are not like I love being in planes, but if I'm somewhere where I think I'm gonna fall
could
from
see
height,
the ground or
no,
something.
thank you. And so then Jared, because rest in peace, but he was an asshole, was like, you know what I've always wanted to do? That thing where they put you in the harness on the end of the long string and pull you
Yes.
back and then do that. It's like, there's three of us, JJ, you, me, and Jill, let's do it. And so we get into this thing, and they've
I'd be
got
like, you know what, Jill? Just date Jared. That's what I would say at that
Really?
moment.
be like,
I give
this is Jared. I'm sure you'll have many wonderful babies with him.
Wonderful.
And so the problem with that is, so they load you up on the ground,
Yeah.
and then they pull you back and pull you back, pull you back, pull you back, and they give you the
Yeah, you
thing
get to
have
release
rip.
it. Yeah.
And so we get up there, and it's on my harness, and I'm like, I can't. I'm already freaking out. I'm freaking out. I can't.
Like you're there, you're ready
Yeah.
to release. You
and
mean?
so Jill goes, let's go. And then she pulls it, and it's just, no. And so while we were like rocketing down, I peed a little in my pants. I was so afraid.
Did you have like jeans on or something?
I had swim trunks because we were going all over the
okay.
place.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, hey, let's go on a long swim ride. But I peed a little in my pants. I was so afraid.
I was worried you made brown.
Oh, God, that would be the worst.
Because it's a lot, like not a long way down, but it takes a lot for you to.
But we did that. We did the power tower where it just drops you. It was awful. I hated all of it.
That's the worst.
And we drove home, and like everyone's having a great time, and like Jill and I have like a kiss goodnight, and I say, just so you know, never again. I said, I'm really trying to impress you right now. I will never do that again. In fact, I'm actually really mad right now that like right now, like current JJ is like, hey man, you had a good date today. Are you fucking nuts? You could have died so many times today. You're not built for rides.
Yeah.
You douchebag.
You know, being alone's not that bad. It's not that
Right.
bad.
you guys
It's-
don't really like roller coasters, huh?
I hate roller
I
coasters.
did
don't
one
like
in the
them.
Great American Theme Park when we were traveling there in San Francisco, where there's three of us. It was like that, except for it was just a free fall. They take you up, and you're all hooked together. There's three of us, and it's straight up. And like JJ said, you get the rope to release you, and so my buddy was holding it, and So they're like 3, 2, 1. Okay, release when you're ready. And my buddy's like, oh fuck. Oh shit. Dude, I think there's something wrong. I'm like, what the fuck? Come on, hit it. And he's like, dude, there's something. And then we're like, we're like, oh. But the thing about that is like, you're literally falling like to the ground until it finally catches you and you're like, okay, I'm not falling anymore.
Have you seen the thing of that like little chubby kid who like falls out of the harness and like he's like, Brenda, help me, Brenda! And she's having the time of her life, and he's like, I'm falling.
My favorite one is where they do the one like you said, except for they pass out, and then like, at the end they're like, oh, yeah, that was great.
And remember, kids, embrace death and then just release it.
Right.
One of our previous episodes features a great story I tell about being in the Tower of Terror and how it's probably the most unattractive photo I've ever taken at a theme park. But it was with Katie O'Keefe Hale, and she has a great, like, the thumbnail for that episode is amazing. You can go back and find it, everybody, because she's given like the rock on like symbol, and her son is scared. He's probably making brown in his pants. Yeah. And I'm like, that's really like, just to each their own.
No.
There's nothing in genetics.
Don't do anything for women.
It's
or men.
No, here's the moral. Know who you are and be okay with that.
Right,
Don't change
good
yourself
point.
for someone else because that you think they might touch your soft spots.
Right.
Yeah, but that's
touch your
so- but
Swedish meatballs.
Yeah.
But it's so hard though, because you're like, oh, I want to present myself as the most virile mate possible, right? Because it's part of your lizard brain that kicks in.
No,
Right,
but
but
have
at
you-
some point she'll learn the truth.
Right.
But like,
But at that point, you've got an anchor baby, right? Like you're like, I've captured you, and we've made it so you're linked to me forever.
No, but it all depends on that person, because you ever, like, when you were young, you were talking to a girl and she's like, hey, asks you a question, you just straight up lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, that's not true. But I said it.
Let me tell you a story, Madison, of when I did that verbatim. So our buddy and previous guest David Brunsvold was moving to Texas, and we threw him a going away party that included getting a woman who removed her clothing for a small fee.
Okay, small
And so she comes to this event, and there's like 30 of us in this apartment, and we're having a party.
Like, is it a joke or is it I just want
we hired a stripper.
I want to do.
Yeah, we hired a stripper. And so the stripper gets a break. Like every 45 minutes, they get like a break, right? And I'm like, well, okay, whatever. And so
Is that state mandate? Or?
I think, I don't know. And so
It's an
she
OSHA
takes
requirement. Yeah.
she takes a break, and then because I'm a good host, I'm like, well, and if you're hungry, we got a huge spread of food, so help yourself. She's like, that's great. She doesn't go and put on a robe or anything. She's just walking around buck naked. And she tries this spinach and artichoke dip, and she's like, oh, this is really good. She's like, did you make this? And I said, yes, I did. And she goes, what's in it? And I was like, well, let me tell you. And I wrote down a recipe based off of like, I looked into it and I'm like, well, there's some black olives, there's probably some sour cream. And so I just made it up.
Oh no!
I made it up.
Oh no!
And so there you go. That's the end of that.
Oh,
So,
I
yes.
thought there was like a bigger bang than that. I
No,
just
no.
gave her my artichoke dip recipe. Yeah, we got married
But I mean,
later.
that's the thing. I bought it from a store. I could have just said I bought it from a store, but instead I was like, I want to impress you with my culinary skills. And so if she ever made that at home, like she could have gotten botulism from all I know what's in it.
Her partner's like, why the fuck do you make this?
Yeah, I love this.
Is it? This guy said it was good. I'm trying to figure out what it is he did. I'm not getting the ratios right or something.
Like, maybe, hopefully they'll call me back to another event.
Maybe things taste better when you're naked, and it's just
Right, maybe.
No, but I think that things taste worse when you're naked because I'm always worried when eating when I'm naked.
Yeah.
Because there's more chances for hairs to fly into things.
But when I'm eating chicken strips in the shower, that's the best chicken strips taste.
You allow your chicken strips to potentially get
be-
waterlogged?
We've
dampened?
talked about this plenty of
What
times.
about your
Eating them out of a
fingers?
baggie
your
or what?
fingies?
No, so you guys understand
Your
that
wrinkled fingy.
when you guys take showers, is it just nothing but solid water every single direction in your bathroom, or is there a particular
I built a really amazing shower.
spray that comes down? All you do is you keep the chicken strips outside of the shower in whatever thing you want, and then you
Do you
just step
keep
out
an
of the
arm out the whole time? Because otherwise,
'Cause I would
you're
imagine-
dripping wet.
No,
you're literally dripping wet.
Right, but you just have to step into the part of your bathtub that's not arcing down with a shower. So like your shower is still coming at an angle,
Right.
but you walk to the other side of the bathtub, there's plenty of dry space there.
Right. But you're
But
not
the
dry.
fact that your hand might hit the faucet.
Your
Right.
hand is moist.
Yeah, your wet hand is going to grab chicken strips.
So is there a towel around where you
If
just
you want-
damp and grab or something?
If you want, but honestly, the little bit of water on your fingies, that's not going to really do anything. Just as a test, next time get some chicken fingers. Don't even get in the shower. Just have a cup of water, wet your fingies,
No.
and then pick up the chicken
No.
strips and see how awful that is.
No.
This is a nightmare scenario for me. I'm gonna dream of freaking fingers and
Earlier,
chicken
people
strips
are like,
tonight.
I think I know why Tucker's single. And now they're like, never mind. My whole idea before is completely wrong. It's this insane chicken finger shower scenario.
Listen, you want to keep me happy, keep me out of IKEA, let me take showers while eating chicken strips, and we're going to be fine. Everything else will work out.
Dude, we need to make the Tinder profile or something.
If
right
I'm
now.
not allowed to have
Tucker,
that in a
I'm
relationship,
heading out to IKEA. I left a plate of chicken fingers for you on the toilet. And when you walk in there and there's not only a new bottle of your favorite shampoo, but also whatever your favorite condiment is, you know that is a keeper.
I am rock hard right now.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yes.
I believe it.
Oh my god.
Oh God. Okay. Well, you guys, this has been a wonderful episode of JJ Meets World. We covered a lot of good ground,
We
starting
sure did,
with
from Wales
to Christmas traditions to how to not be a great partner in a relationship.
I felt like Tucker was very adamant about
all
that
the way
part.
to me peeing my pants.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's a lot. Madison, thank you very much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me again,
And
guys.
again, if anyone knows someone from the Goodfellows Corporation at Target, we sure would love them to be a sponsor because my pants are brought to you by Goodfellas right now. How about your pants?
Mine are Goodfellow jeans.
Where are your
Mine
pants?
too.
See, there you go. I'm telling you.
We're just a couple of good fellows wearing some good fellows.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. I actually never saw Phantom Menace. I just went to meet Joe Black a bunch of times. I think I got the gist.